We have Christina and Lori with Jane Does Well today, speaking to us about all the important topics with regard to child support and Massachusetts state statutes. So we're going to
having us.
We're so welcome, and we're going to start by asking you, please tell us about Jane Does Well.
Yes, well, Jane Does Well is a nonprofit organization committing to improving the lives of women in various stages of divorce and beyond. Our community empowers women through inspiration, education, resources, and connectedness through our various events and forums. And we are a place for friendship and a way to feel supported while pursuing a fulfilling future.
Excellent. And so what are your organization's goals for the next 3 to 6 months?
Right. Well, we've been working on several initiatives to improve the lives of women. In the next few months, we will increase awareness and access to domestic abuse victims advocacy organizations. We will continue making strides in increasing our community's diversity. And we are actively committed to an advocacy initiative for fairness to women and children in the family courts.
Excellent. Lori, do you want to add to that?
Sure. I want to talk a little bit about how our members have been impacted by COVID specifically.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a big topic out there, and it's been devastating to our members. They're losing their jobs, or their hours have been substantially reduced. They've had to homeschool their children, and their older children have returned home from college, further straining their meager earnings. And these are people already struggling financially, and they're at or below poverty levels. And COVID has forced them to tap into savings, borrow, or basically go without, basic needs for themselves and their children. So it's been really, really devastating to our members at Jane Does Well, and to everybody, all other women and children in Massachusetts.
And tell us about the recent Massachusetts trial court public forum that you participated in.
Well, right. So last month, the Massachusetts Child Support Guidelines Task Force held 3 days of public forums. So the task force invited the public to comment on child support policy. Jane Does Well submitted critical and urgent testimony to the Massachusetts Trial Court's 2021 Child Support Guidelines Task Force's public forum. So we detailed how Massachusetts policy is harmful toward custodial caretaking parents, which is 80.4% of those are women, and our state's children by submitting compelling research and factual arguments that were excerpts from the 49-page brief that we submitted to the trial court in December.
Wow. That's a lot of work, a lot of research on your part.
Yes, it's been a lot of work, but it's such a good cause. We're so committed to this.
And it's so impressive that you've cross-referenced and vetted, and this is all evidence-based research that you've done. That's so impressive. And so what were some of the public comments you heard?
We both participated in all 3 days, both speaking and listening. And 9 out of the 10 public comments were really desperate accounts from mothers and attorneys representing low-income single mothers. These women were telling the trial court of their dire circumstances that they're facing, not only due to insufficient child support orders, but also the court's refusal to order alimony, the arbitrary 25% decrease of child support when a child turns 18, and other, factors. We heard from women who were married 22 years, and they should have qualified for 17 years of alimony. but they were told that they could not receive alimony because the total income of both spouses was less than $250,000. Other comments we heard by several members of the public were about the conflict of interest of the consultant hired by the task force for the economic review, and also a call for consequences for parties that provide false financial information or continue to financially abuse their partners through the court.
Wow, that's quite a bit of heavy information there. That's shocking. And what are some of what are a few of the existing Massachusetts child support guidelines that you recommend need assessing and changing?
Well, we highlighted several recommendations we previously submitted to the task force to address, the areas that the state are falling short for our children. And since 2012, the trial court no longer allows custodial caretaking parents receiving alimony, as some of the comments that were received at the forum. So, if the combined incomes of the parents are below 250,000, so they are being denied alimony, which was given prior to 2012, and it's actually given in every other state in the nation. We are the only nation that does this. Why does this affect children? It's because child support is meticulously designed for the consumption of a child. That means that how much the average child eats in a week, or how much one room in a home is, and so on, that is what a parent is now sharing, right? That's how much a parent and the child are living on.
It's more than one person.
Yes.
It is. So since 2012, Massachusetts justices have been denying alimony to parents raising the children, and their mothers, and forcing them to live off of their children's child support. So Massachusetts, like I said, is the only state in the nation that does this. And it's as a result, we are seeing single parent families decline further into poverty. It's really, really devastating. And we recommend that the trial court revert to the pre-2012 policy of allowing concurrent orders of child support and alimony for families that don't meet the 250,000 income threshold, as it is currently done in 40 other states.
Another thing, obviously a big hot button right now is childcare, and the fact that a lot of most women are having to either leave their jobs or decrease their hours due to the lack of childcare because of COVID. So that just brings up another factor that's specific to Massachusetts, that Massachusetts stands alone. And that is the 15% cap on childcare and healthcare expenses as well. The national standard and child support guidelines is for these costs to be shared by the parents based on their percentage of income. So that means if they make the same amount and then they have childcare expenses, those expenses are split equally. If they don't make the same amount, the person that makes more money is responsible for a greater percentage of childcare, just like every other expense. What Massachusetts has done is they've placed a cap on these expenses that the non-custodial parent pays to the primary parent. So that basically shifts almost the entire financial burden of childcare to the primary parent, which is, as Christina mentioned, about 80+ % of the time, the working mom. So we want that to be eliminated too. There's absolutely no economic reason, nothing that would explain why that child care cap and health expense cap is in the guidelines. It really makes no sense.
I'm not a lawyer, but might I suggest also changing the consultant that they've hired to do the assessment. It seems ever since they hired this new consultant in 2012, things have really changed. That has been mentioned more than a couple times by a lot of different groups. So yes, hopefully the trial court will do something about that. And please explain the process involved in updating the existing Massachusetts child support guidelines. How does one go about, getting through that process?
You want to take that, Christina?
Well, all states in the nation are federally required to review the child support calculations that the states order in the family trial courts. It's federally required every 4 years. The reason is that the cost of living increases, and other factors such as new laws may increase the needs of families reliant on child support. So the Massachusetts trial court creates a task force to review the state of child support and hire a consultant to provide economic data, enabling the trial court to adjust the child support amounts. So the consultant's role is to provide the decision makers an objective, accurate, and comprehensive analysis so that the task force can make the most informed and thoughtful policy decisions that will better serve Massachusetts children and parents. But since 2018, the process has been decidedly less accessible to the public. Mm-hmm. Less transparent and forthcoming. And on the information presented, there's been a shift. And the shift has been to the opinions of the consultants that were hired, so that they have their own interests. And what I mean by that is that the trial court hired a private consulting firm who has stated that their mission is to lower the obligations of non-custodial parents. It's stated in writing, it's stated on their website, and it also happens to coincide with the steady decreases we've experienced since 2008, since they've been, influencing the child support task force. So it's really not supposed to work that way. We have had a wonderful model since the 1980s. It's all on the premise of the best interest of the child, and it was very inclusive. There was a lot of publication about it. The minutes were very open, and they shared their minutes, and it was much more of a public policy, campaign. What it is now is definitely a very closed, not very transparent process.
Wow. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but that seems like a conflict of interest, to publicly state that your intention is to lower the child support rates and then be hired as a consultant to do this work.
It is beyond belief, to be honest, because we're the only state in the nation, again, that hires a private firm, not a public policy research center. I mean, the woman who used to do our economic reviews, she does the economic reviews for 30 other states. So it's very alarming, I would say, yeah.
And if you had to redo the review process, where would you start, and what are some of the tenets that you would build into that?
Well, we would like to see greater transparency in the whole process. A lot of states, I would say probably half the states, actually allow access online to all meeting transcripts, all presentations by the task force, all task force discussions. So this would provide just openness and transparency, so people could actually see what's being discussed and who's saying what, and how these decisions are made. We also would like to see greater diversity on the trial court child support committee. We'd like to see representatives from child welfare, custodial parents, and non-custodial parents, both, public policy, academics, economists, and also domestic violence advocates. We think that those voices have not been heard for many, many years in the task force. We'd also like to just urge women to come forward with their stories, send emails to Judge Paula Carey, contact Jane Doswell, reach out and share your story so that we can combine them and have a much greater voice that can't be ignored anymore.
And who's at the state level that that a person should write to and contact about this?
Well, right now, it's an administrative process, so it's not a legislative process. So the trial court, and in particular, Judge Paula Carey, is responsible for implementing child support decisions.
Right. And Jane does well. You have a website, and people can leave comments there for you.
Absolutely, yeah. JaneDoesWell.org. They can call us. They can email us. We'd love to hear from many more women out there.
Yes, they can reach us on social media as well. We've been tweeting a lot about this, our Instagram. We've been focused on this for the last couple of months, and we would love to, to just open that network up and have a greater voice.
Right. And the reason why we've been focusing in specifically on child support is because, as Christina mentioned, it's only reviewed every 4 years. They're currently reviewing it now. So it's not pretty urgent. It's very urgent.
Time sensitive. Right.
It's extremely time sensitive. If things aren't changed now, then it'll be the same status quo for the next 4 years. And too many women and children are being harmed. We don't want that to happen. We want change to be made now.
Excellent. Anything else you two would like to add?
Well, there's just, we sort of illustrated a couple of issues that are plaguing the problems with women and children and child support. There are several more. Okay. So without getting into every sort of condition that was added since 2012, it's just a very dire circumstance. I'm venture to guess that we're probably the worst in all 50 states right now, specifically because of the child care cap that basically makes, as we said, working women who've lost childcare or trying to care for their children are not they're not being supported by the non-custodial parent, because the non-custodial parent only has to pay 15% of childcare. So it really highlights what's happening with the pandemic. We've heard of so many women losing their jobs. These women are also dealing with having to teach their children at home, single parents. So they're doing the caretaking, and they also are receiving less support, and they're also not able to pay for childcare so that they can work.
Did you say 15%?
That's right. It's actually 15% of the child support ordered amount. So let's say if the child support ordered amount is $100, then only 15% of that, so $15 would go for the cost of childcare. Right. So that means that really it's anywhere, it could be up to 95% of childcare costs are covered by the working mom.
That's 3 cups of coffee.
Exactly. And it obviously depends on, the proportion of income and the total amount of childcare costs and everything, but it's significant. Almost the entire financial burden is on the working mom.
And it would seem that because of the pandemic, they would have some emergency measures to sort of, at least temporarily change that. But I guess that hasn't been done.
No. So we're very, very interested to see what happens. Probably it'll come out this summer, but we're just hoping to really make the public aware. I think if people understood what is happening and wrote letters and contacted us, I think that we could perhaps influence what the decisions that the trial court will be making in this regard.
And beyond, it must be really comforting in a sense to know that you two are taking this on and helping other people to connect and to have a support group, to have someone to talk with and share these stories, because I think most of these primary custodial parents feel alone. They don't know what to do, and they're so busy trying to take charge of the education, the finances, and everything else that they're doing. That it's good to know that you're out there.
So, thanks, Rama.
So yes, bravo, ladies. It's you're really doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yes, you're so welcome. And thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on today. And hopefully we'll see you soon to get an update.
Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully it's good news.
Good news. Yeah.